Hello, listeners, viewers of the Mind, Body, Spirit Network.com's monthly High Vibe Tribe group video book reviews. And once a month, we gather some of our lovely members from the Mind, Body, Spirit Network to share some of their favorite reads on the topics of mind, body, spirit transformation. That's what we do here. We're transformers and not like the movie, the Transformers, although we could probably play one of those parts, no doubt. So we have 5 books to review today, and we're going to introduce each one of our presenters. And then we're going to have some fun, lively conversation, because we're finding that, when you're a healer or working out in the world and in the healing profession, stuff comes up that's really interesting to hear about and share, because likely one of you listeners or viewers is dealing with that at the moment. So, law of attraction is always at work. You get what you need out of everything that you're drawn to. We're magnets for each other. So we're going to start first with Cheryl Murphy. Okay, Cheryl, you're off to the races, woman.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cheryl Murphy. I'm a spiritual medium and psychic. I'm located in California, north of Los Angeles. What I do is I help people connect with loved ones on the other side. I also help people empower by teaching that we all have intuition. So whether you're at a crossroads or you're feeling stuck, what I do is I tune into your auric field, your energy field, also in my work, just to help you get unstuck and feel a little bit better, hoping to empower you and to let you know that we're all intuitive. Today's book recommendation from me, I want to tell everyone about a book called Meditations by James Vam Praagh. Now, this book was written a few years back, but James is one of our leading psychic mediums in today's field. The reason why I like this book is because it talks about meditations. It's a basic how-to book. I love it how he takes you step by step into how to meditate, which we all kind of need a refresher course, or just to learn how he teaches it. That's what I always like to do, is learn how other people are doing it, see if it doesn't help you at all, okay? And then next he goes into these fabulous meditations about how to release blocks, how to attract abundance. So he has meditations maybe for specific goals or specific openings that we want to investigate. For example, releasing grief, or practicing forgiveness. So James Vam Praagh's been around a long time. He has a lot of books out. Talking to Heaven was one of my favorites. He also has Healing with Grief. He has Heaven and Earth, which is another big one. Adventures of the Soul. Once again, James Vam Praagh is just a leader in the field that I work in, and I always have this book on my bookshelf. So once again, it's called Meditations. Sometimes I'll just flip through it and pick a one-page meditation. I'll be drawn to what page, and it's either a meditation or an affirmation, but it's always something positive, uplifting, that connects you with that soul experience, and that's what this is all about. So I just hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope everybody picks one up to have on their shelf.
Thank you, Cheryl. All right, so okay, Linda Armstrong, let me pin you, my dear. There you go.
Hello, I'm Linda Armstrong. I'm an awakening coach and a energy healer. And what I do, similar but in a different way to Cheryl, is I help people to get unstuck, to move forward, living their purpose and loving their life. And that's my website, lovemylife.coach. It's what it's all about. So I clear subconscious programming that holds you back and really set you up to manifest those things that you desire in your life. So that's what I do. And today, I wanted to say, while Cheryl was giving her book review, I glanced at the clock, and I'm in New York. It was 11:11.
Oh, we always encounter this during this time.
You just gotta love that. Okay, my book, The Ascension Mysteries by David Wilcock.
Okay.
It's deep.
Okay. I've never heard of it.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, he's done 3 books, and actually the way he suggests you read them is the backwards order. So the Ascension Mysteries is his latest one. Before that was the Synchronicity Key, and before that was the what's it called? Source Field Investigations. Okay. So it talks about how the universe is far bigger than we could ever imagine. How, yes, there is life on other planets. He has shows on Gaia. One is called the, he'll be on Ancient Aliens, but he's also on, I wrote it down, Cosmic Disclosure. Okay. So he talks to whistleblowers within the government who have seen all this stuff, who have been to all these other places. We're talking underground, whole ways, life in under the earth, inside the moon. I mean, it gets really deep and crazy. But what I love about it's not crazy. You know why I have to say it's not crazy? Because it backs it all up. A lot of this stuff NASA has been putting out since the beginning. A lot of it, and that's why it shows Cosmic Disclosure too, because a lot of it they put out through movies. Like a lot of this stuff we see is NASA's way of getting stuff out there to the masses without freaking them out, so that when things do actually go and develop in that way, they can't say that they never told us, right?
Yeah.
So the first book you read is his third book, Ascension Mysteries, and he talks about his upbringing as a kid. I mean, he was very switched on since a baby, basically, but didn't know what that meant. Was very much the odd one out, extremely empathic, had all kinds of experience he couldn't explain, and he basically was an outcast, bullied by everyone under the sun, total pothead until through college. But pieces were coming together all along the way, and that's what he talks about in this first book, which is the third book, which is really important to read first because it kind of sets everything else up. He'll reference the other two books, but within all three books, he's giving scientists' names, dates, studies, all this information that is actually really out there. This is not foreign. But what I love is that when I was a kid, I never thought we were the only ones. I mean, come on, this is the universe, right? And all these different abilities. And it really speaks to now how this whole ascension is happening. We are moving into another dimension. And this helps you to understand it beyond just what we know in the world of psychics and ascension and channelers and all of that stuff. Here he puts like fact to what a lot of people might call fiction. But it's in my world, in my mind, especially after listening to this book, it is so real, and you really should listen to it. Because you'll actually expand your awareness and even open yourself up to really download, because we're getting downloaded all the time, information and ways of being that really boost our own psychic abilities and awareness. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say, because if I say any more, it'll get really freaky.
Okay. Linda, show us the cover of that again.
Oh, okay, hold on. I listen on Audible, so...
Okay.
This is the cover on Amazon. Audible book looks a little bit different.
Okay.
Ascension Mysteries.
Cool.
David Wilcock.
All right. All righty. Thank you, Linda. Liz Bigger, you're up. Let me pin you. There you go.
I'm Liz Bigger, and I'm the owner of Butterfly Healing and Wellness. And I help my clients heal to where anything is possible. I use Reiki, sound therapy, meditation. I read tarot, oracle cards. And today I'm going to talk about a book. And I was telling you guys before we started that I picked this book up a while back. I don't remember exactly how long ago, but it really kind of scared me. It's called Shaman, Healer, Sage. This is what the book looks like. It's by Alberto Villold. And he actually, in the prologue, he talks about how he studied with Native Americans of the Incans and in the Amazon for 25 years. And the part that scared me, because he's a shaman, and you know, this is the studies that he did to become a shaman. But the book is more about the people that he studied with. Like he goes through, there's a whole chapter that's dedicated to the different shamans that he studied with. And he studied with men and women. And in the prologue, I just wrote down a few things that really resonated with me. I mean, there's so much in this book, I could talk for hours, but these shamanistic traditions were passed down through the oral tradition. There's like no written language. And when we conquered, when the Western people conquered, these different Native American societies, they didn't share any of this. We were trying to make them Christians, and they just didn't share any of it. So they still have it in their little enclaves, but it's not written about, it's not common knowledge. They don't share it with just anybody. And I thought that was so interesting. The thing that scared me about this book when I first picked it up is he talked about how with energy medicine, you can harm or heal. And that scared me because I was a new energy healer. And I was just like, oh, and I hadn't seen anything that looked like harm. I hadn't experienced anything that looked like harm. And I still haven't. And I think that's, good. But he talked about how you really, when you study energy medicine, you really need to study with someone who has high morals and ethics, and is, trying to do things for people's greatest good, staying in the light. And one of the things that really resonated with me that I just recently, I knew it in like the back of my mind, but I just recently stumbled upon it, but there's lots of different sources of energy out there. And I don't like to name them as good or bad. You can name them as dark or light. But different traditions will pull from different places of power, places of energy. And, in the shamanic tradition, they usually pull from the source, from the light energy. And that's what I choose to do. So once I picked it back up this last time, I realized that I am pulling from the light, and so it didn't scare me nearly as much. The thing that I really want to stress is that if you're not studying with someone and you're, if you're like reading a book or you're taking an online course, I'm not saying that it's bad. I think you really, that's great. It's a great entry point. But at some point during your, energy healing, if you're not just healing yourself, if you really want to start healing others, I think it's a really good idea to have a teacher, to have like a face-to-face teacher, someone who can really pass along the morals and the ethics and, creating a sacred space and, only pulling love and light, those kinds of things. So when I realized I was actually already doing that, it didn't scare me nearly as much. I don't know why I was scared, because I hadn't ever really thought about the darker power structures that are out there. But anyway, he talks about a couple of things that really struck me. He talks about the divine principles, and in these other traditions, they were feminine. Like they really, they pulled from the feminine tradition, the matriarchal instead of the patriarchal. So when we showed up and we were all patriarchal, they were very confused. They were like, we don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about caves in the earth and lagoons, and it's all very feminine. And they started talking about phallic stuff and it's all male and they asked the Westerners, are like, well, what does your God say to you? And they're like, well, our God doesn't actually talk to us. And one of the shamans actually threw the Bible, he put the Bible up to his ear. It was like, I don't hear anything, so I don't think that's, and I just thought that was so interesting because they hear things from so many different things and places, and they get messages. And this is the this is the concept or the principle that really outlines that. So in our society here in America, we have a precept, and we live by laws and governance and that kind of thing. And the Greeks back in the day, they lived by concept. So it was more like, philosophical type lifestyle. But the Incas and the shamans, they live by precept. Like if you want to change the world, you change your mind, you change your idea, you change your perception. If you want to change,
they were ahead of their time, huh, Liz?
Right?
Yes.
Well, it's been there all the 5,000 years.
Right.
They just don't share it with anybody, and it's just now. I think now it's really bubbling to the surface. There's a huge undercurrent of people who this is resonating with, and I think are really coming up to this. I mean, the law of attraction. I mean, it's all it's all starting to come out, I think. He was actually a psychologist and an anthropologist, and he actually quit. I love hearing these stories. He just quit his teaching job at a high, university and said, I'm going to get some hiking boots and I'm going to the Amazon and I'm going to learn about the spirits. So he learned about the mind, the psychology. He learned about anthropology, like how people behave through history. But then there was one thing, and he studied the brain, and he just was like, I really need to know more. There's something else going on. And then he starts talking about the spirit. So this was like his quest for the spirit, and that's the name of one of the chapters. Like I said, I could talk forever. This book, and what he said was he wanted to learn the energy side of Einstein's E equals MC squared.
Ah.
So we're really good on the MC squared part, but not so much the energy part. So, but he describes the chakras and the energy field, and he talks about the illumination process. And I thought that was really interesting because my Reiki Shinpuden is also a shaman, and he doesn't really care for the term enlightened because he doesn't feel like you are ever enlightened. Like you're never there. Like as long as you're still in this plane, there's more to learn. There's more to do. He's the perpetual student, and that's what I strive to be too. I want to always be the student, and I always want to learn from the spirit. Always want to, get a new lesson. So he talks more about the illumination process, which is, I think, kind of what people are meaning when they say enlightenment. But death and dying, creating a sacred space. This book is just healing versus curing. That was like an amazing thing to me because I knew it, like, again, in the back of my mind, but I hadn't actually put it into words. But curing, like, what we want to do is cure people. So like they come to us with a physical ailment and we want to just, okay, well, you got a cut, we're going to put some antiseptic on there and slap a Band-Aid on. Okay, great. But when they come to us with the chronic illnesses, a lot of times it's spirit, it's mind. It has to do with the mind, the emotions, and the mental old thoughts and things like that are going on, and they just keep creating this chronic illness. All the autoimmunes, those kind of illnesses, cancer even. A lot of times those are more thought driven and mindset driven. So then we get into healing, and healing is actually, and I love it, I think he put it like this: healing is a journey, and we actually have to agree to go on the journey. Like people come to you and they're like, I want a treatment. Like I do Reiki, they're like, I want a treatment. And I'm like, okay, I can, if you want to call it a treatment, but it's really an agreement. It's a journey. It's an agreement to go on the journey. And I love that whole way to describe it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's what I try to do. My clients, I try really hard to explain to them that it's a journey, and their part is to show up and be present and to pay attention and create awareness. And I love mindfulness. Jordan's going to talk about that maybe. And I just love that, they have a part too. It's not like you just show up and I'm going to do this thing and you're perfect. There's a part for each person.
Yeah.
And that's
not a quick fix necessarily.
Yeah. And that's the healing. So anyway, I probably talked too long because I like to tie it up in a nice little bow like Cheryl, but I don't ever do like, oh.
Well, tie it up in a bow and show us the cover again.
Okay. Yes. So and I have to mention this. So today, at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, it's 11 o'clock. It's called Shaman Healer Sage with Alberto Villold. But the Shaman Summit starts today on the network. Sign up. It's free. If you can't watch as much as you want, you can pay and watch it whenever you want. But I signed up like weeks ago because I was. It's
only like $100 for like 30 shamans talking to you.
Yes, and that's like if you're busy and you don't. If you want to watch it as it goes, you can. That's free. But if you want to watch it later, you missed something you wanted to see. I think Alberto Villold is actually speaking, and I'll get the time wrong, but he's speaking today. I want to say it's like at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which would be 2 o'clock Central. So I think, I just wanted to throw that out there because it actually all aligns right there, and I'm so excited to do that.
All right. So this is people that are listening and viewing, it will have passed, but you still have the ability to sign up to get the recordings probably for a couple of months. So if you go to the mindbodyspiritnetwork.com to our free online events, you'll see that event there, and you can just click through to it and get the recordings, which you're going to have to, it's $100, I think, Liz, right? $97.
Yeah, I think it's 97.
And how many shamans, like 30 shamans on this thing?
Yes, it's 3 days.
Lot.
It's
a lot.
Yes, tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
That's pretty cool. You can watch it all for free if you can take 3 days off from whatever, which is then, if you can do it, great. I can't imagine doing that. But their summits are all pretty huge. I mean, there's 30 people in this particular field talking for an hour. And they just did an Enneagram summit, which is pretty fascinating. The Enneagram is of higher consciousness, which is interesting to know. If you know your Enneagram, you're better aligned with who you came here to be. Same with a really good astrology reading, by the way. It has about the same level of consciousness as the Enneagram. But shamanism is it's so funny. I live with my dad, and he's fascinated with shamans. And he met a shaman when he came to visit me in Boulder. We went to a women's networking group. And I'm like, Dad, you can totally come. They don't care. The women will be glad to have you there. And he sat next to a shaman. So ever since that, every time I do an interview, I'm like, are you talking to a shaman today? I'm like, no, Dad, not everyone's a shaman. But I have spoken to a couple of them that are shamans. I think might say two or three so far, but and I did a little research. It's pretty interesting that there's a resurgence of interest in shamanism and really understanding what it is, what's shamanism all about. And one of the big ones on the Shift Network is Sandra Ingerman. She's one of many shamans, but I had an interview with her, and she's a nuclear love muffin, that one. I love her. But she was she's part of the summit now. So you would hear her. So if you go to the Mind, Body, Spirit Network, or just search for the Shaman Summit, or go to our event page, you'll see it. So that starts today. But you can have access to that likely through September or longer, I'm sure. I mean, there's no reason not to continue to offer that. So those are good. And Liz, I have to say, this gentleman has come across my field of awareness before somehow, and I'm not fully, I don't remember what it was, but so he is into energy medicine. What was the subtitle of that book?
It's How to Heal Yourself and Others with the Energy Medicine of the Americans.
Okay.
We're talking about the U.S. Native Americans, and then also the South American, the Inca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you made a great point, and I'm a student of Dr. David R. Hawkins, who he teaches consciousness. And I'm like, he's my guy. And enlightenment does actually exist. And you wouldn't think it does until you get there, and you're like, holy crow. I didn't get to, enlightenment is like 600 to 1,000 on the map of consciousness. So it's a huge span of stages. And I've been in the presence of, I think what I figured out was around 850, and it's like phenomenal. It's like I can't even describe it to you. And typically you can't really function above 600. And I felt that, I'm like, how am I going to function in this world when I was in these states? I asked myself that question. So it's a different perception, enlightenment, and it's a full realization of the presence of God or divinity, whatever you want to call it. And it's dumbfounding. You're just kind of, if you listen to Dr. Hopkins, he describes it really well. I'm like, holy crap, that's the way I describe it. Yes, Liz?
What's wrong with some of the stuff that he talks about in here, though? And I don't know about like full enlightenment, so I guess there is a thing. I think in my day-to-day life, I can't necessarily, like you said, get there. I don't know that I could drive my car if I was in that space.
Well, but I have. Thankfully, the body just continues. Like I was, had some unusual experiences, but it's a different, most of this planet is not even close, which is why people don't think it exists. But Jesus, the Buddha, they were enlightened, and it's a very different perception. You're like, it's removing the blocks. Hawkins always says all it is removing the inner blocks to who you are. But I did want to mention beware of the energy source you call in. Hawkins talks about this all the time. And he makes a great point. You don't need to call in dimensions that you don't know, right? And he has plenty of books that calibrate the level of consciousness of many spiritual teachers. and many different practices like energy healing, acupuncture, whatever. He's got a book called Truth versus Falsehood that has a lot of great calibrations for you to guide you. And you for sure don't want to call in witchcraft, let me tell you. Witchcraft energy is horrific. I'm telling anyone listening, you do not want to go there, and Hawkins will tell you the same thing. It is, you don't even want to know. I'm going to cry. It's so horrific. Any type of lower realm, beware all who enter here. Hawkins says the same thing. I had the same experience. I'm like, holy bleep, God save me. It's horrific. Stay away from that. Stay when you're, and when Hawkins came to me, Liz, this is kind of confirming what you said to yourself. When Hawkins' books came to me, because I've been in the presence of extreme, horrific darkness, like, I don't even know how I existed for 10 seconds in it. It's horrible. And it shocked the hell out of me, just annihilated me to be in that presence more than 24 times. And they kept getting worse. So I'm telling you out there, you don't want to mess with this stuff, ever. You don't need to call in anybody. That's why I think Hawkins is like, find a teacher and stick with it. But
that's what I came to. Right. I was like,
yeah.
That scared me, but I realized, you know what, I have a teacher and he has the morals and ethics. So yeah. He also talks about, in his book, he talks about the timelessness of healing, how we see reality in a linear time.
Yes.
But when you enter the place of healing, of that energy medicine, it's actually a place of timelessness.
Yeah.
And that's where the healing is very easy to do.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting. And I misspoke with that enlightenment doesn't exist. It does. I just don't think that in my lifestyle, the way I live today, unless I was able to go be a monk and not, you know what I mean? I think it would take so much for me to get to that place. I think we call enlightenment, it's like we hear a concept and it resonates and we're like, I'm enlightened.
Right.
I think we overuse it, I think is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Well, I had the interesting opportunity to experience a quantum leap in consciousness. But even to go, Hawkins talks about, even to go like a half a point on the map can be life-changing. So a half a point that's life-changing feels like enlightenment.
Right.
So it's always happening. It's always, as you're moving along, every little move is like, whoa, whoa, it's always that. And then, I had the opportunities to be in the presence of high end. So, and the low. So I feel like, I'm a teacher of what's all in between and what's possible. But when Dr. Hawkins came to me, because when I was had the confrontation with the opposite and, the energies that have no light at all, I realized that wasn't who I was. And then when I realized on the map of consciousness, I was not down there, I got over the fear. I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, there's nothing I can do about it if I'm in the presence of it. And if I die, that would be great. I'd be like, if I had a gun, I would shoot myself because it's that bad. But I got through it and I'm still living and now I'm happy. So yeah, pay attention to who you're listening to. And there's so many fallacious teachers out there. So many. And you just gotta, and Hawkins talks about it, because it's crafty energy, it's crafty consciousness when most of the planet is still lower consciousness. So we're all affected by it. And when you're of lower consciousness and you're trying to get what you want, you learn to manipulate the words and to try to get what you want. But it's okay because they're still learning. They don't know they're of lower consciousness or whatever. We're all learning that. Everything's perfect. That's the ultimate message from all enlightened beings, is every moment is perfection and you can't judge yourself ever. And people at higher consciousness would be a non-issue. It's like, are you kidding me? You're magnificently beautiful. So when you're enlightened, you guys, when you become into enlightened states, you perceive everything as magnificence. You can't even contain your joy and love. I mean, you'd be bawling your head off the whole time, which I did. I was like in joyful tears. Oh my God, are you kidding me? All right, enough about enlightenment, and don't mess around with witchcraft. The energy there is horrific. If anyone tells you they're going to heal you with that, run for the hills. Get a new phone number, you change the locks on your doors. I'm making fun of it all. All right, Jordan, you're next, my dear. Let me pin you. Introduce yourself. We want to say hello to Jordan. She's our newest member here, and we're so thankful to have her. She's going to teach us something new. And show us that t-shirt, Jordan. Jordan sells this cool
Yes.
t-shirt. So fun. Thank you.
Yes, it's one of my favorites.
Very nice.
I love that you brought up David R. Hawkins, by the way, because I just recently, well, like you said, he found me, but I just finished my second book from him. So,
woman, wow, this is awesome that it's coming to you at such a young age.
Yeah, I'm totally the whole thing. So I love that you spoke of him for a little bit.
Which two books have you read, Jordan?
Letting Go and Power versus Force.
Perfect starting point. All right,
yes.
you're on to really good stuff there.
Yeah, I'm loving it. So, but anyways, I'm Jordan Wavra. So I'm a holistic health and mindfulness coach, and I focus on working with busy moms who want to reduce stress in their life, increase energy, and I help them do that through mindfulness and nutrition and understanding that mind and body connection and how powerful it is, that they can use it to their advantage, because it's there regardless of if we're aware of it or not. But when we are aware of it and we are mindful of it and the power of it, we can use it to heal, to live a better life. So that's where my passion is, and that's what I do. The book that I want to review is called Do Less by Kate Northrup. So I just finished this book. It was given to me by a mentor of mine. And essentially it's a book for working women and moms who are ready to release that belief that we have to work harder and do more to be more productive, and that we have to stay busy in order to be successful. And so basically what she does is she helps women create a do less approach, but still have and be more. And she does this by helping us understand our inner self and our feminine, and then connecting that feminine to we have a monthly cycle, right? And understanding how that cycle works and how our emotions and behaviors change based on where we're at in our cycle, but also how our cycle connects to the moon and the moon cycles, and how the cycles of the moon and our personal cycles, how they line up, and how our productivity and what we're meant to do changes based on where we're at in our cycle or in the moon cycles. So for example, there are times during the cycle when we are more productive for things like content creation and doing like the background work, or there's more times when where the energy flows easier for us to have communication with others, to talk to others. Does that make sense? So based on where we're at in our cycle, we can either push against the energy or we can flow with it. And so she helps women understand that, so that we can essentially not have to do so much, but still have success and still make progress in our personal life and our professional life. And so the really cool thing that she does is throughout the book, she gives 14 experiments that you can do over the course of 2 weeks. And each experiment is for you to test out and try the do less theory so that you can experience it for yourself. So a couple different examples are, she has you experimenting with tracking your cycle and tracking the moon cycle. She'll have you experiment with keeping your energy safe, so managing, the energy of others around you. She'll have you experiment with your priorities. And, so a lot of personal development books, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but a lot of them are like, you can fit it all in, we all have the same 24 hours. It's all how you manage your time. It's all about how you plan it out, that kind of thing. And she's kind of like the exact opposite. She's like, it doesn't need to be that way in order for you to be successful and be productive. And so she challenges that, and that's one of the experiments that she does in the 14-day experiment challenge. So I really resonated with this because I am a mom. I'm a new mom. My son's just about 2 years old. I am a businesswoman. I work from home. And for me, balancing all that and feeling like I'm not being productive on the days where I don't get as much done, or on the days when I don't have a full schedule, has been a challenge for me. Sometimes I feel like if I don't have every time slot filled, that I didn't have a productive day. And that's not true. That's not true at all. And so I loved this book for that reason alone, especially because I do work with other moms, and just having this kind of in my pocket to recommend to them, to be like, hey, I read this book, it was amazing. Maybe there's bits and pieces that you can take out of it to help decrease some of that stress of not getting enough done.
Nice. Could you show that book one more time, Jordan?
Absolutely.
Have any of you guys heard of Kate Northrup before, or read her?
I've heard of her, but I don't think I've read her.
Yeah, I like that. So Jordan, you'll appreciate this now that you're reading Dr. Hawkins, and I'm really impressed. How old are you? Like 20-something?
29.
Okay. That's pretty evolved for you to pick up those books, let me tell you. And now every one of you listening out there, I'm talking to the ego. If you want to get evolved, pick up Dr. Hawkins. Hawkins is funny. You test the ego. It's like, where can the ego get more power? It's like a trick. He goes, it's a spiritual trick. The spirit knows. Let's help the ego along get what it wants. Yes, Liz?
I'm just wondering, is it mostly for younger women, or does she talk about what happens once we lose our sleep? Like, do we just go by the moon, or does she talk about that?
Liz, you're hard to hear.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just wondering, does she talk about what happens with us when we lose our cycle? Do we just go by the moon? She does talk about that?
Yes, she talks about women who don't have a cycle, women who have an irregular cycle, women who are pregnant and aren't experiencing a cycle during that time. She addresses all of that. And she even addresses, men who associate themselves as a woman.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, so she
all right. I think I might be going to pick up that one. That's a good one. I'm going on to Amazon, so I might as well pick up some books. But I did want to mention something on the lines of going with the flow. And I've experienced it in my work. Some days I just like, I got to do art today. I've got to create images. I feel that. Or one day I feel like writing or whatever it is, or just being, busy work. Some days I just like to be task-driven, busy work, and going with the flow. But when you look at the map of consciousness, Jordan, I'm going to point this out to you and all our listeners. And I've already had this conversation with Linda in our interview we had last week together. Hard working on the map of consciousness is around 200, which is positively oriented and constructive. There's power there. Playfulness and having fun is 395 on the map of consciousness, which is 10 to the 395th power. So to go from 10 to the 200th power, which there's power there, to 10 to the almost 400th power is a huge energy surge. I'm going with fun. And you got to keep reminding yourself, fun is where the energy is. I'm going to plug myself into a 220 volt, boom, I don't want to light up, at 200, you're lighting a bulb. Let's put it into like a metaphor. You're just lighting a bulb. At 400, you're like lighting up your whole household and maybe your neighborhood while you're at it. That probably is not a stretch to say. 400s are super powerful. You probably lighten up your whole town at 400. Your ability to offset negativity and contribute to the consciousness of the world, having fun, is significant. And that's my my personal goal now is I don't need to be enlightened, because I understand like that leap doesn't help anybody. Even Hawkins said the same thing. Hawkins is like, stop trying to be unconditionally loving. You're not even close. And when you force it, you get yourself into deep doo-doo like I did. I didn't know I was forcing it, but that's essentially what I was doing. So my new goal is, when you look through his book, Truth versus Falsehood, he calibrates a bunch of things. And the concept of Santa Claus is around 375-ish. And I'm like, I'm a Santa Claus by nature. So I might as well align with that, where there's fun, play, wisdom, worldly success is up there, generosity, lovingness. I'm like, that's a great one. You know, align with Santa Claus. There's greater levels to align with, but I'm going with that right now and just playing it safe. All right, I'm going to share a book. Jack Canfield, who is the co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Oh my God, how many are there? This is like 1 million Chicken Soups for the Soul. It's a franchise now. Made him a lot of money. He's done well. So I am sharing Jack Canfield. I got to share my screen so you guys can see it. The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. There you go. How to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I think one of our other members used to use that tagline. What was her name? That lovely Lori Buchanan from our online meetup group. Do you guys remember Lori? I think that was her tagline too. So it's now in its 10th anniversary edition, so they've revised it. And so I'm just going to read the back of the book because it tells all the good stuff. So since its publication a decade ago, Jack Canfield's practical, inspiring guide has helped thousands of people transform themselves for success. So this is a success-driven thing. And I have to say, Jordan, after hearing what you had to say, it's kind of the opposite of what you're talking about. I prefer going with the flow. But you can make this work, going with the flow. So so he's updated it, and it's teaching you how to increase your confidence, tackle daily challenges, live with passion and purpose, and realize all your ambitions. Filled with memorable and inspiring stories of CEOs, world-class athletes, celebrities, and everyday people. That's kind of a fun part of this book. It's all kind of broken up into small chapters where they share a story of a famous person, of how they overcame something or how they applied themselves and got to where they wanted to go. And it spells out there's 64 timeless principles used by successful men and women throughout history. Proven principles and strategies that can be adapted for your own life, whether you want to be the best salesperson in your company, becoming a leading architect, score top grades in schools, whatever it is you want to do, it helps you with that. But these types of books, I agree with Jordan. I mean, I think they're going to start to evolve to a more balanced way of being. Because this book, there's 64 principles. I mean, just keeping up with them all is like, oh my God. And if you feel like you're not enough because you don't, that's no good. That not enough syndrome kicks in. I'm not keeping up with 64 success principles. First of all, being born is a success enough, right? Having fun is success enough. But there's some common themes about, like, he recommends pulling out, get some small index cards and write down what you want on each card and look at it. Just kind of a reminder, because what's going on in consciousness is the subconscious is kind of aligning you with what you're trying to build towards. And even that for me was too much. I'm like, oh, I just don't have it in me to look at 100 cards every day. And he says like 3 times a day. That's like kind of chronic, if you ask me. Because what the underlying energy is not enoughness, I'm fairly certain. We're not enough if we can't keep up with all of this stuff. But there is there's more than enough research that people that do set goals, review them often, tend to manifest what they want. And Hawkins said the same thing. So I like to play with consciousness. And Hawkins said the statement, whatever you hold in mind tends to manifest, whether it's positive or negative. Law of attraction says the same thing. And that statement calibrates at 500, which is the level of love. And what I would like you to kind of understand and appreciate is that Creator is love. Creator wants to give you what you want. That's why it's loving. Even though if you hold something in mind that's horrific and you get it, Creator is going to still give it whatever you're holding in mind. You're saying to life, I want, you know, it's like, well, you keep keeping it in mind. Let me just show you what that's all about. So be careful what you wish for, right? But if you hold something lovingly in mind, you're having fun with it, it's going to, it's at 500, it's going to manifest. Sooner or later, it is going to manifest. So I don't know. You got to play with the balance between this success-driven, what's the energy behind it, right, Linda? What's the energy pushing you? If it's perfectionism, not enoughism, righteousness, pride, anger, resentment, you ain't gonna get it. You're gonna get more of that. You're gonna get more of that.
But if it's fun,
if it's loving, appreciation, and fun, like I said, the energy is huge and present there for that, for what you want to manifest. All right.
Can I share a plug for another network member?
Yes.
Chief Harold Peck.
Oh, nice. I'm trying to get him on here, please.
Yeah, he has worked one-on-one with Jack Canfield.
Oh,
and in fact, Jack Canfield is writing another book, and I believe that Harold's story is going to be in that book.
Yes.
Yeah.
He told me that.
Story. So.
All right, I'm gonna message Harold and say, you and Sarge are gonna come on and share a book, you know, because he'll do it with his son. It'll be fun.
I'll put some pressure on him.
Please do, because, you know, that'll be fun. All right, so this is not to dismiss, I mean, Jack Canfield is hugely successful, phenomenal success, and he has there's great tidbits and understanding in what he's saying in that book. You just got to start paying attention to the energy that's moving you. What's the energy that's forcing you or whatever? No force. Force is force. That's why the book is called Power versus Force. And power is where it's at, not force. Our planet is force driven because we're primitive, which is okay. It is what it is. And it's all we live. I can tell you one thing, when you get into enlightened states, you have revelations. I've been shown eternity 3 times, and there's no friggin' rush. We're here forever and a day. Enjoy the ride. And if you're here to struggle, it's because you're in La La Land for, you know, a billion years. Like, oh my God, I've been enjoying La La Land forever. Let's go wrestle in the mud. See what that's all about. All right, ladies, thank you for joining us. Everyone who's listening out there, you can't see all the stuff I'm going to put on the screen. But if you want to connect with any of us, and I'll be sure to fix this next time we have our book review, you simply go to the mindbodyspiritnetwork.com/first name - last name of any of our presenters. So we have Linda Armstrong is here today, Liz Bigger, Cheryl Murphy, Jordan Wavra. My name is Liz Garcia. I'm founder and editor-in-chief of the Mind, Body, Spirit Network and your happy host for HighVibeTribeRadio.com. That's our podcast. HighVibeTribeTV.com. That's our YouTube channel. And we're just having fun. So we'll listen in next time, you guys. And if you go to the website, we'll have links to all of these books, so you can just buy them from there. And we are an affiliate of Amazon. So when you buy stuff through the network, you help support us. We like to be supported. Thanks, ladies. Thanks, everybody.